In the United States, a Republican politician wanted to run a TV ad criticising China, an ad also starring a Turkish-born basketball star who changed his name to Freedom. Is that much into democracy? It's this ad.
The world's greatest athletic showcase. But just outside the show, rape, genocide, slave labor. American companies are drunk on Chinese dollars, entangled with communist dictators committing atrocities and propping up these genocide games staged by the Chinese Communist Party. And what can we do?
Stand for freedom. Defund the dictators. When you see made in China,
put it down.
Joining me is Annelise Nielsen, Sky News US correspondent. Annelise, what happened to that ad?
Well, what's happened to the ad is more people have seen it now than they would have seen it if it actually aired during the Olympics. And I think that says a lot about the frustration that so many people have around the kid gloves that's been handled with these Olympics to try and keep China happy, given they were just one of two countries in the end that was willing to even host it. But this is a really serious discussion about freedom of speech. The fact that NBC, right at the last moment, decided to tell this congressman, you have to edit out these major corporate sponsors from this ad before we'll consider airing it, because he was calling out big companies like Visa, Procter & Gamble, and they have very strong lobbyists in Washington as well, which you can't ignore. But the fact is there's nothing in that ad that's untrue. And so that's a really serious issue when you're talking about who gets to see that and make up their own mind. So now it's gone viral on the internet, it's on Twitter, it's had plenty of media coverage. And the fact is that now more people have seen it than would have seen it during the Olympics. The ratings have been terrible. 16 million tuned in for the opening ceremony. That's less than the 1988 Calgary Games. And that's including streaming platforms for NBC as well. That's not just looking at traditional TV viewers. So that is a really alarming statistic for those executives. But also, I think it's a really good indicator that people are seeing through this. They are seeing through the ceremony of the Olympics and the PR spin, and they're seeing that there's a lot that's being withheld and there's a lot that's being spun, and people aren't going to put up with that kind of spin anymore.
And Lisa, I think the moral too of this interesting story you brought us is that if you're going to stand up to China, you've got to do it yourself. You can't expect your politicians to do it. They've got these pressures on them. You can't expect the big corporates to do it. They've got to look after their revenue. And a lot of academics have sold out too, Confucius centers and all this kind of stuff. It's going to be people power.